everybody. Well, a happy Monday as we begin June right here on the Anthony Gargano Show, brought to you by Rite Aid, your neighborhood pharmacy. Visit your local Rite Aid today. Stock up on allergy relief or catch up on immunizations for RSV, shingles, and more. Walk in or schedule a vaccine appointment at riteaid.com. Well, June, which is Schwarber month, right? Always the month of June. We issue today a happy anniversary. And it's a happy anniversary to the topper. 2 years ago today, and I can't believe it's only been 2 years, Joe Girardi fired as Phillies manager. The Phillies were 22 and 29, underachieving. And Girardi gone. Topper in. And look, we've seen what happened since Rob Thompson has taken the job. But let's go back to life under Joe Girardi, who honestly was a shocking disaster. One of the more shocking disasters, I think, when it comes to coaching hires, usually you could tell. Like, the minute Eddie Jordan walked into my studio and talked about his Princeton offense and everybody's a point guard, I knew that the Sixers were doomed, right? I even told that Stefanski that. Like, dude, what did you pick this guy? Like, you knew certain guys, you go, I just don't feel it, man. Like, it's not happening. Like, Ryan Sandberg made a lot of sense until you met Ryan Sandberg. And then you realized that he belonged in a Macy's window, right? Like, he was there just as a mannequin. There's guys that you could tell, like, you go, wow, you know that this guy is going to be a proven coach, good coach. So Girardi, I'm going, this guy's got to succeed. And he was no fun Joe, miserable Joe, or as I used to call him, zombie Joe. He was a guy that just was a dud in every way. And to me, I was shocked because when they hired Girardi, I was like, it's a great hire, man. You know, guy's been around, Yankees. You know, I covered the 90s in New York and the Yankees and during success during the mid-90s. Thought for sure. But disaster. And then in comes Topper. Remember, the whole great story that Rob Thompson is going to retire, right, at the end of the year. And here he stumbles into it. He's the longtime bench coach, and he gets elevated to manager, and he has the magic touch. And it's something Violations Greg said to me earlier. We were talking about it, and he said, listen, Topper's done a great job. And I go, yeah, okay, great, like question mark type of thing. And he's like, yes. And the reason why, and Greg's right, what he's done is he's presided over this team with calmness. Like, you could say all you want that they have a great roster and they have a great clubhouse, right? He's blessed that they have a great clubhouse, that they have players that fit. But he presides over it, and his calmness, I think, presents the overall tranquility of the clubhouse and allows them to succeed. Listen, he's been a somewhat, I'll say him, not polarizing, but somewhat polarizing figure. There's a lot of people who go, I can't stand Topper and the analytics and everything else. Do I like Schwarber batting leadoff? No, I never did, right? Never did. And we've had this argument for 2 years. But at this point, like, you just give it up at times. Do I like a bullpen with roles? I do. Now, I don't know if that's just a product of, you know, how old you are and what you believe in the sport. And we all have our own basic baseball tenets. And to me, I don't see Schwarber as a leadoff hitter, and I don't see I need roles for my bullpen. That said, I mean, who am I to quibble over success? He's 196 and 137 as manager of the Phillies. I mean, that's damn good, man. At some point, you just got to give it up, right? And I issue a happy anniversary to Topper today. And when you think about every time you get frustrated by him, just think about Joe Girardi and think about what life was like under Zombie Joe. They weren't happy. They were miserable. No music. There was no frivolity. And this is a team that's fun. All right, some of the obviously you take 2 or 3 from St. Louis last night. Didn't go as well, but you got the good news on Ranger, right? Ranger, good news. What is that? Is that a ghost over there, Andrew?
I don't know what's going on here. Let me try to figure that out.
You figure that out. That shadow's like freaking me out, man. It's like a ghost.
I don't know why we got that here.
Yeah, that's a scary looking figure, man. What is that? You're freaking me out, Andrew.
Here we go. I'm going to fix it real quick.
Anyway, yeah, Ranger. Oh, my God. Good news. The swelling is down in a big way. And X-rays were negative. The shame is Marsh gets hurt last night. That looks to be a little bit more serious. That could be like Trey Turner, who's already been out 3 weeks. So we'll have to keep an eye on Marsh. Could be a lot of Rojas and a lot of Pache moving forward, depending on what's going on with Brandon Marsh. But the Fightins, welcome back. Reese Hoskins and the Milwaukee Brewers come in today. So that's your baseball report. Lots to get to. Let me bring in my boys. That was popping off, brought to you by Olipop. Find your favorite Olipop flavor at your nearest Wawa. Good morning, my fellas. Violations, Greg Caputo, JP, John Zapata. What's say, fellas? I missed you guys.
Missed you too, cuz.
Felt like you were away for 3 weeks.
I know.
We had fun with Jamie and John, but we missed you, man.
Yeah, thank you. Well, it was a week. It was a whirlwind week. We had our Memorial Day weekend, holiday Monday, so we were all off. And then I had to go to a conference in Italy for 3 days.
Italia.
So
Tough life.
I know. It was a whirlwind 3 days. And
how was Italy, cuz?
I mean, it's always incredible.
Get some good food.
3 days. I had a pizza. I had to send that to Violations, Greg.
You didn't send it to Andrew?
I can't. I don't even want to look at it because he'll tarnish it. And it's some incredible pasta, and it was an incredible. It was an amazing conference. So it was. You
know what I love about Italy is like pasta over there is not like the main dish. It's like the right before the main dish. I like the small portion because I like the taste, but I don't want like a whole bowl of pasta.
We're not supposed to eat. Right, you're supposed to have a protein with it.
Yeah. That's it.
Right. But
I like the small portion.
That's your pasta.
There you go.
That's your pasta course.
That's the best.
Everything's a course.
Yeah.
You start even if it's not appetizer, pasta, protein, dessert. That's how they do it.
Best.
Give me my never-ending bowl of rigatoni. Come on, man. Come on. Some breadsticks.
God, that's awesome.
Salad soup.
You brought something up. It is interesting. You brought something up to me this morning. We were talking about Girardi, and today's the anniversary. And I give Greg credit because Greg said, he's done a great job. And my initial reaction when I hear great and Topper is great. I mean, good, certainly, right? But great. And your point was right. Again, it's only been a couple minutes since we had the conversation, but I can look back and go, no, I think you're right. I mean, he's achieved a tranquility in the clubhouse that allows them to play great baseball.
There's a lot of egos in that room. And I know, like, Schwarber gets a lot of respect for running that clubhouse and being a leader in there. But it's a lot of high-priced egos and a lot of people, even the people who don't play a lot. He's got Whit Merrifields, the Sosas. When there's not injuries, he's got to keep them involved enough so that they're cool.
Yeah.
And people like playing for him, and I think that's a big thing.
I'm with you. Like, I don't think he's been great. I think he's been good. But I think what he's been has been perfect for this team because, like you said, VG, like he allows those guys to be themselves. I think that's what works so well because these guys have great personalities and they mesh well. So Topper just really has to allow them to be themselves. I think that's been the big part about it. Obviously, listen, in baseball, it's a bunch of decisions. Sometimes this fan base criticizes decisions. But for the most part, he's been good on his decision-making in games.
I wrestle with a maniac from Northeast Philly who's legendary called the Ragu, the big Ragu in Northeast Philly. He hates Topper. Every batting lineup, every change he analyzes. And this is just his Facebook post over the last 24 hours or over the weekend.
The Ragu?
Yeah.
The Ragu.
Another loss by the manager. How does PHLY bet? Wah ha ha ha. This manager stinks. Perfect spot to pinch JT for Stubbs, but nah, because a righty pitching. How is this clown a manager?
Oh, they
Great
hate
move
that.
by the manager. Walker's a stud. That's all in one day. He is trashing Topper.
So here's the thing. There's a lot of stuff that he said, the Ragu, that I agree with. Like, but there's nuance to it, right? And that's where you can't go overboard in criticism because you have to understand the nuance. Like, let's look at Walker for a second. We were having a conversation beforehand. He's obviously the weak link, and he's obviously only pitching because of the contract, right?
Yes.
Turnbull needs to be in the rotation.
Yes.
And at some point, they need, and that needs to come from Dombrowski, right? Now, as much as I go, if I'm Topper, I go to Dombrowski and say, Dave, look, you know what? It's time to pull the plug. Like, just time. Dave sees it, but ultimately, because Dave signed the deal, he's the one that's going to have to make the decision to bounce him out of the rotation. Because the minute you bounce him out of the rotation, you're effectively freezing him, right? He's not really a long man. You're going to create a position like that where he's just a mop-up guy, and that's it.
And we know from how he reacted in the playoffs of not playing, he can be a trouble in the clubhouse.
Yes.
He can be a malcontent.
Yes.
So I think they're also weighing that too. Because there's no chance. I mean, there's almost no chance they find anyone to take his contract, even if they pay all of it. But if he's a malcontent, that's even makes it more difficult.
No, and at some point, it becomes like you got to move him out. But that's not like you can't get on Topper for that,
Right.
Because that needs to play itself out. The fact is, they're playing. They're the best team in baseball. They're playing at an incredible clip. You got that's one where you can have a little bit of lag, right? A little bit of, hey, let's see how it goes. And he continues to get beat up. At some point, you make the call.
It's a tough decision. Do you Spencer Howard, Taijuan Walker, where you have like your Ranger Suarez pitcher ready when he kind of, when that start, he goes in that start, he doesn't pitch well. You have that's your Spencer Turnbull can be that Ranger Suarez. Taijuan Walker goes out and starts. Doesn't have a good outing. There's Spencer Turnbull to save his day.
Yeah, I mean,
because what else are you going to do with Taijuan Walker at this point with the money and the position he's at?
Well,
right
then it's certainly. Listen, once you hit the second half of the season after the All-Star break, then he's got to go.
Yeah,
like if this continues, then you got to go. I mean, that's just the bottom line. I mean, at some point, you got to pull the plug on it. And Turnbull, look how well he pitched the other night. Like Turnbull's not a reliever. You see it. Like
he's got
he
moxie.
Can't come in with guys on base. It's just not what he is. He's a starter. I mean, that's very real.
He sets the tone. You can see that.
Yeah.
When Turnbull's out there, even those 3 innings. You saw that little moxie in there.
But that's not a criticism of Rob Thompson.
Right.
Like you can't. Now, certain things I agree with, right, that the Ragu stated. But again, it comes without nuance. Like you can't just you have to have the nuance in the argument, especially if you're going to go after a guy that's 196, 137.
And we talked earlier before we came on. I think a lot of the stuff people criticize Topper is not stuff that it's not his call for the most part.
Yeah.
There's analytics now that dictate a lot of this game as much as we hate it.
Yeah.
It's not baseball when we grew up or 10 years ago. The bullpen choices, the numbers are dictating that. The lineup, the numbers are dictating that. And a lot of it is taken out of his hand. And what is in his hand is morale and relationships. And I think he's great at that.
I didn't like, putting the lineup up to dictating on the pitcher, right? Like, I think for me personally, Brandon Marsh should be an almost everyday starter.
I do. I agree with that.
So sitting him with the pitching matchup, I was never a big fan of. But, I mean, Cuz just laid out that record. So it is kind of hard to
listen, there's things that I again, like I love Marsh. Now it's a shame he's hurt now, right?
Yeah.
But I love Marsh. Like to me, Marsh has to play every day.
Yes.
Like I would play Marsh every day.
Right.
I mean, there's certain things, and then I would mix in, do what I have to do. But I remember about life pre-Thompson, and it was not pretty.
It was not.
I mean, Joe Girardi was a mook.
They all hated him.
Yeah, they were miserable.
He didn't. It was weird because you get a guy. Usually, catchers make the best managers, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, Yankees. We won, and you go, how in the world is he a dud?
And I was part of the problem there because I was crying for Girardi. You know,
I agree.
and I'm for some odd reason, Buck, the vice president of the Phillies, Dave Buck.
Yeah.
He answers my emails because when times were lean as a season ticket holder, he's very responsive. So
Dave's a good guy.
he gets back to me in emails. And like I was like, come on, you got to get a big name in here. You got to get Girardi in here. And yeah,
That's what we all thought we
all
needed.
of us. You know, like, he was so wrong for this club and this team.
Well, because we came from Kapler, right, who was
Yeah.
very modern, so we kind of wanted to get someone here who was experienced, who had some winning pedigree in there, and that's why I was in the same boat too. I wanted Girardi when we were looking for that manager.
And I think you're right, JP. I mean, obviously with Gabe, you're coming off of Gabe, and you know, I mean, Gabe was
Bamboo.
I mean, Gabe was ridiculous though. Like, let's
He changed my world at ice cream. I don't eat it. I just put it in my mouth, taste it, and spit it out these days.
I mean, he was absurd. I mean, the whole thing was he was absurd. Like he was absurd for the sake of being absurd.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
And listen, I don't even care about the ridiculousness of him as much as he wasn't a good manager. He just wasn't. Right. I don't care what the Giants did today. He ragged out. He was not a good manager.
Mm-hmm.
And so Girardi's just a baseball guy. You go, but that no fun thing.
Yeah.
Is legit. Like you can't be heavy-handed in today's game with today's player. You can't do it.
Yeah.
You know, and nobody loves Larry Bow more than I do, right? Bow was his intensity was so much that you got to go back 20 years and he still was too intense. And that was 20 years ago. Right? Like his intensity was such that every game mattered.
He spoke at my little league banquet. I was probably 9 or 10 years old. 19, I don't know. Larry Boa was so intense at the banquet, screaming basically and pounding about us playing 120% every at bat, every game. It's like, this is a little league banquet, man. What are you guys doing?
No, again, it's hard to, we're raised off of that.
Yeah.
And that is Philadelphia, right?
Yep.
Like, so when you get Kapler in, it was a shock to the system. So then Girardi comes in, and we're all thinking, "Oh, great!" And nobody expected him to be a zombie.
Right?
I mean, sit there and look, and you're going, "Dude, give me a reaction."
Something.
They were 22 and 29, and we knew that this team was good.
Yeah. Do you remember the Max Scherzer moment? That was that situation kind of like was that like signified that whole situation or the whole Phillies tenure with Joe Girardi. Like you're asking Max Scherzer or you're asking the umps to check Max Scherzer for the third time, making sure he doesn't have an illegal substance, and just like the stare off between Max and Joe, like that kind of signified the whole tenure of Joe Girardi. That Scherzer situation.
Did was it Girardi when Schwarber was going off on Angel Hernandez?
Yeah.
And he just sat in the dugout, right?
Yeah.
He would just sit there, cross the arms.
No, that was him.
Right.
It was him.
He like to show off the guns.
Yeah, dude, you got to like your guys getting into it.
Yeah.
You got to be got to bust out
It's
there.
like he's at a movie, eating
know.
popcorn, watching it happen.
It's so interesting how the manager, it has worked, right? So when Charlie gets here, he's under great fire when Charlie Manuel gets here. And it was funny. I knew Charlie from covering baseball, and one of my good friends was a guy named David Segui who played for Charlie and in Cleveland. And I had known Charlie from that when he was hitting coach in Cleveland. And so I liked him. I always thought, he's a fun guy. I didn't know him the way I know him now, but I knew him. I was like, he's a sharp guy, right? And when he gets the job, because we all wanted Leland, right? So when he gets the job, people were like, they like
I can imagine.
Southern drawl and the whole thing. Like, who's this guy?
Country bumpkin.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, he was getting killed.
Yeah.
He was getting killed. When he gets the job, Segui goes, dude, Charlie's got the job. Take care of my man. Like, you're going to love him. So, you know, the minute he gets a job, I go up to Charlie. I go, I don't remember. I covered you, blah, blah. Said, he's like, oh, yeah, Anthony, you know, and we struck up a really good friendship. I was always with him and talk. And I'm like, these guys are sharp baseball. I'm like, I remember talking baseball, and I'll always, to this day, I'll go to my grave saying this. He called Broxton. So the day he called Matt Stairs against Broxton, it's before the Dodgers series. We're walking on the field. They had a workout at Citizens Bank Park.
Uh-huh.
And he goes, Anthony, he goes, I got Stairs ready for Broxton. You mark my words, he's going to come up big, Anthony. and he goes, he's dead red, and I got him ready. And he called, like he said, this is the off day or the workout day before the series started. He had him ready, and that to me was epitomized a guy that really knew the game and knew matchups, and he knows players. Like he could be a GM because he knows play. Forget about the GM now has to have the suit and the project and be the CEO, but just knowing baseball and knowing baseball players. I'll put Charlie against anybody. Okay. But the reason why I bring Charlie up,
he also got hammered too about he can't make a double move, right?
Double switch. Yeah, it was ridiculous. So the reason why I brought up Charlie Manuel is sometimes you need a guy like just a veteran guy that's been around that's got a good way about him. And Thompson obviously has a great way, just personality-wise about him.
Yeah, people seem to like playing for him, and I don't understand it. He doesn't seem that charming. Like Charlie, I get. He's charismatic. He's funny. Topper doesn't come off as any of that to me, but he's doing something right in the clubhouse.
Maybe he's just baseball knows his way around a clubhouse and leaves you alone.
Yeah, and even like when we were talking, when Girardi didn't come out for Schwarber, you can see there's times where Topper's almost like, here I go. I got to get out there. But he doesn't, He lumbers out and he's got to give some crap to the umps to back his boys up.
One of his best moments was the Colorado series where he's go out there, Bryce gets ejected, and that's when you saw the emotion from Topper, but that's him defending his boys, and that's what you love to see.
We all silly like the mayor.